Game though.
Anyway, we are into game one of this best of nine. Let me introduce these two players to you. In the lower left position, as the red Protoss player, we do have Team Dignitas's Ourk, and his opponent up in the top right is Team Property's Bobson. And, well, as you may have noticed, it is a PvT, and on Daybreak, it should be good fun. Zoya, do you have any predictions of what Bobson's going to be going for on this map?
This is a pretty popular map for Command Center First or Gasless Expand. We do see quite a bit of Command Center First here, even against Protoss. So wouldn't be surprised if we saw early expand from him, but there's a lot of this map's big, as you can tell, and you can always put proxy racks anywhere. We've been seeing a lot of proxy Marauder rushes coming out lately, as most recently we saw Flash do it last night against JYP. So we can never really predict anything on this map, but more than likely it'll be Command Center First or Gasless Expand.
I'm going to be going with the Gasless Expand, purely based on the fact that Bobson does like that build. Every time I've seen him play, he goes one racks command center. He likes it. It's a nice balanced opening in my opinion. It keeps you safe from anything that could be too aggressive, gets you a good economy, and all in all, it's then up to Ourk to really pull it out. But Ourk, I reckon he could be going for a quick expansion as well. The interesting thing with him is he's happy to do all playstyles. You can see him go for something very, very aggressive early on one base, or take a quick expansion, and I think that makes for more interesting games, personally.
Now, if I recall, the last tournament he played in was the I-47, where he did play Zerg, so this might be the first showing he's gone back to playing Protoss full-time. So
well, he was at I-47, he was actually doing Zerg in the main tournament, but there was the Scan Invitational, which was run by Team Dignitas as a player search, and he played the group stages of that as Protoss. So that's when he first really started switching over, and that's actually where he won his first pro gaming sponsorship, obviously onto Team Dignitas.
Yeah, wow, I didn't know that. That's pretty great for him. I knew he was on Dignitas, I did not know that's how he got there, but looks like it's going to be Gasless Expand from Bobson, or really haven't seen what he's up to just yet. Right now it's just a standard opener from him in his base, and this is looking like just a standard TVP Gasless Expand into Gateway Expand from the Protoss player.
Well, he's just spotted, of course, the command center going down, so I'm definitely thinking it's going to be a quick Nessus out of Ourk in response to that. I don't reckon he's going to try and risk going on for any too much early pressure, anything one base for the moment. Just get the expansion down, get a good solid foothold, and wait and see what Bobson goes. And that, in my opinion, is a good game plan in game one, is don't take too many risks. See where your opponent's weak, if it's early, mid, late game, and then try to get to that situation in the subsequent matches.
Yeah, well, we do see that he is chrono boosting out his Cybernex core and his Gateway just to get that early Stalker out, apply a little bit of pressure early on, knows that it is a Gasless Expand, got a full scout in the main base. And we have to keep in mind this is a best of 9. That means at least 5 games are going to be played, so we're not going to be seeing standard games every single time. These guys are going to bust out cheesy things. We're going to see proxy racks is more than likely, proxy gates. You can see anything in a best of 9. It's just so many games to be played. You can't just go standard every time or you're going to get blind countered.
Which, of course, makes it more enjoyable to watch. And of course, for anyone who is wondering, this is of course all done by ESET. So make sure you do send us all tweets at ESET UK Masters. And yeah, let us know what you think. Let us know any of your predictions of how you think this is going to go. And we will make sure we try and get some replies to you. Definitely. Do you have a Twitter account, Zoya?
I do.
I'm sure you do.
It is at Zoya Light. I am the caster for Light Esports. And that's my Twitter. What about you? I know you have a Twitter. I'm following your Twitter.
I'm following your Twitter as well. I just couldn't remember it, if I'm honest. And mine is, of course, @Madals SC2, which is MADALS SC2. So do send us all tweets. We love tweets. I know I do. I'm sure you do as well.
Tweets are fun.
Tweets are awesome. Anyway, Bunker is down for Bobson. So in a nice spot, he's got his 2 racks up, getting his tech lab down now. He's got a good amount of gas. He's really going to just start teching, expecting to see Stim out relatively early on. Meanwhile, for Ourk, he's following up with 2 additional gateways. So both of these 2 players are really doing the most standard you could possibly go for. Neither one doing anything too risky, really showing what they're wanting to achieve.
Yeah, you're 100% right there. There's nothing weird about this at all. It's just completely standard. You were correct. The fast stim does go down before factory, wanting to get that fast stim. Be able to defend against anything really aggressive, get caught off guard. Engineering bay going down as well. Nice timing for that to be done just in time for the DTs to show up if they do come. And Bobson just playing a standard, safe, overall good Terran style.
And I think that's something which you're always going to get on Daybreak to some extent, is, especially in the game 1 of a best of 9, is a safe build. Because you don't want to lose game 1. It's a psychological advantage coming out of game 1 with a win. You feel like you're on top of the world, just as you always will. A loss in game one, you end up scratching your head, and confidence plays such a huge part. And I've forgotten who it was who was saying it on Twitter. I remember I saw StarCraft Quote of the Day mention it about StarCraft isn't just about having the best build order or being the best player. There's more to it than that. There's the psychological aspect, the confidence of it, and I really do agree with that, actually. It's the same as any high-level sport, that you have to have complete faith in what you're doing.
Oh yeah, definitely all that takes into play. And we see some players who, just get really nervous before games. Look at Hero for one instance. Sometimes you'll just see him play and he's an absolute beast, and then when he gets to the finals, you'll be, is this guy really one of the top Protoss players in the world? He's fidgeting, he's making these horrible mistakes, losing classes. I mean, nerves, mental attitude toward the game, everything applies for this game, and you always have to be on top of that. And we actually don't know how often Bobson and Ourk play each other. Do these guys frequently each other on the ladder? Do these guys know each other's style? Or maybe they're just playing safe? I don't know how he's going to be playing this game. Let's play safe, test the waters, see how good he is compared to me, and then we'll judge our next game based off that.
Now, I'm just taking a quick look around the map at the moment, and we've got Extended Thermal Lance getting chrono boosted out, the first Colossus hitting the field, as well as the Double Forge on its way for Ourk, so we'll be starting to catch up in the upgrades. Meanwhile, of course, +1 infantry weapons, nearly finished for Bobson. Probably going to see the armory chucked down shortly, assuming he's going to be going up to the +2 upgrades. He's getting Combat Shield as well, and is, well, happily checking up. He's got his Starport out with the reactor, so once the Observer gets over, which I did see somewhere, I'm not quite sure where it's gone now. There was an Observer, not Observer, rather. Once, I've lost my chain of thought now. What was I saying?
Talk about observers.
I can't remember what I was talking about with observers. Once the scout comes across the map and he sees that Colossus, is what I was going to say, is of course that he can then start chucking down the Vikings, being ready to deal with that sort of more late game army. Orcs then got to start looking towards, obviously teching towards High Templar into the late game, and if you look at his teammates who play Protoss, they often, especially Bling I'm thinking of here, he usually only gets 1, maybe 2 Colossi before he starts getting those High Templar, and I think that's a really effective strategy because it puts a lot of the stress on the Terran to get the right composition of Ghost, Viking and infantry in order to effectively deal with that, which can become a large problem for them.
We do see a lot of aggression come out across the map here for Bobson. Ourk has had a complete scout of this push the entire time. He's observers everywhere. Beautiful scouting based on him, and I would be really surprised if Bobson tried pushing into this. There are a lot of units here. He has taken down the rocks, and he's just going to back off, fending a little bit of pressure, forcing more gateway units to be warped in that Ourk probably wasn't wanting to spend. It looks like he's just going to back off to the middle of the map for now.
And he has got a handful of units sitting up in the main, actually, so I don't know if he's worrying about a drop from somewhere, but I think that's a good, safe decision. And it just means that you're defended from all angles. There isn't any threat of that coming in as far as I can see, though, so that's good news. Meanwhile, a Zealot warping into the third, and that's just going to be irritating for Bobson more than anything else. It's not going to do any damage, but it's just letting him know that Ourk has got this map awareness, he's got this control, and he's got the ability to warp in and basically push out from any angle, and means Bobson's got to keep his focus and can't get sloppy, which I think at this stage of the game you'd want to keep your opponent on their toes, just as we saw Bobson pushing across. I don't know what your thoughts are of that.
Well, I mean, that was a good play up by Ourk. He delayed the command center just by a little bit. He got the scout, like you said, having good vision all around the map. And at the same time, Bobson is delaying the third base of Ourk with this factory. Marine King Prime was one of the first players to start utilizing its factory this way in the TVP matchup, and now it's just become a standard. You send it around the map, you scout with the army, it's very hard to kill, has lots of life. You can delay the third base like that, and now Bobson knows, okay, his opponent is going to be taking his third base. He knows it's his a little bit quicker, and he's just feeling pretty comfortable that this is going to be a standard macro game, and he doesn't have to, fear anything weird coming at him right now.
Indeed, and I mean, it's nothing weird at all. We've got, of course, the Templar archives coming down for Ourk, so he is starting to get those High Templar out. He stopped Colossus production at 3, which I think is perfect, to be honest. It's great play. It's what you see from Dignitas Dream, Dignitas Bling as well, so essentially, he's clearly picking up things from his teammates, and I think that's good to see him adjusting his build. And Bobson, the only thing which I'm really seeing is obviously the Ghost Academy coming down, so they're both gearing up for not wanting to engage. And I don't know if you've looked at the units, the resources lost tab, but it's 500 and 250 in 30 minutes into the game. Nothing has happened.
Yeah, I think a few Marines have been killed, and the factory for Bobson, and That's it. This has been a pretty, slow, passive game. And I love this timing on the Ghost Academy. If you know your opponent's going fast Colossus like Ourk did, you really want to get your Ghost Academy around between the 12 and 14-minute mark. It's a solid time to get out your Ghost, just in time for a high Templar push. So Bobson's going to be completely fine against Storms. He's going to have his Ghost out plenty ahead of time. And he's actually up in supply, almost over 30 supply. He's been macroing like a beast and doing a phenomenal job just keeping his head in the game.
Indeed he is. Upgrade-wise, I'm just taking a quick look at that. 2-2. I don't know if you've noticed this mistake by Bobson, but he did actually have the 2-2 upgrades queued on the same engineering bay, but has now switched it over. Of course, 2-2 is now finished up for Ourk, so he does have the upgrade advantage for the moment, and that could be a nice little timing for him to go and try and exploit. The concern is, though, that there is a good count of Vikings out at the moment with 6 against the 3 Colossi, but those 3 High Templar could really make the difference for him.
Well, here comes a small little pressure here from Ourk. He's going to force a cancel on this command center in the middle of the map. Ooh, did he not go scout that? Does he not see that? Okay, he does see it.
He does definitely see it. I think he was just concerned where Bobson was, not seeing any of his army there, knowing that there's a good number out. He's keeping some more of his Colossi back as well, which is a good decision in case there was any aggression going, and he doesn't want to lose those at this stage. Yeah,
you definitely need to keep the Colossus count where it is. And I like the fact that Bobson's not really overreacting on the Vikings. He's got 7 with an 8 on the field soon. He's not, going up to 14, 16. He's been doing a great job of scanning the army, keeping a tabs on how many Colossus are being built. One of the worst things that can happen to you as a Terran player is you overmake something, such as Vikings or Ghosts, and then you get overwhelmed by either the High Templar or by the Colossus. So Bobson's doing an excellent job keeping his army composition at a nice, solid, counter army to Orcs.
Indeed he is, and that is, in my opinion, what late game Terran's all about. And of course, you are the expert here, but in my opinion, it all comes down to army composition. That you have to keep that good solid count, as you're saying, on the Colossi, know how many's out, know what your opponent is doing to get the appropriate number of Vikings and Ghosts out to deal with that. And so far, Bobson seems to be doing that nicely. Obviously, Ourk trying to take his 4th base now, but we've got the 4th command center nearly finished up for Bobson, so he can float that down when he's ready. And still, this is gearing up to be a really passive game for the moment.
If we look at that units lost stat, Bobson lost a little bit more since then, but I mean, Ourk 350 resources, 4 units lost. It's no drops have been going on, which is really curious from Bobson. At least sending out 1 medevac for the Marines, is what you want to do. Apply a little bit of annoying pressure, keep some units back home, but he's just kind of letting Ourk do whatever he wants. And now Ourk is about to have 3-3, where there's going to be a nice window of opportunity where he's going to have 3-3, and Bobson's going to be on 2-2 for quite a while.
Indeed, and 3-3 is obviously the danger point. Once you get there, that is a massive trigger for Ourk to push. He's got it now, he's maxed out, so I'm definitely seeing some aggression coming in, and that is precisely what's going on. Some Ghosts do get taken out. It's all going to come down to the good Storms and the Viking movements, but as you can see, Bobson trying to get those snipes off. 1 Colossus is going to fall, the 2nd going down quickly as well. Storms only just now going, but well, Bobson, he's losing a lot of infantry very quickly.
Yeah, he was kind of backed in the corner, couldn't micro back. The first storm does land on the upper half of the army. Ourk losing a lot too as well, though. It looks like Ourk's going to have barely enough to hold this up. The Vikings are landing on the low ground. Marauders and Marines are trying to focus down the last of the Archons. Will Bobson have enough to hold? He's losing so many of his Vikings, and this is as close a trade as you can get, with Ourk barely coming out on top. And the beauty of Protoss is they can reinforce almost instantly, already warping in more units back home, where Bobson has to slowly produce. So, Ourk coming out on top that engagement. However, he did not force the cancel on the command center, did not get the kill, and he is forced to back off.
Indeed he is. And as you said, that is pretty much a closer trade as you could ever hope to get. It was complete mutual destruction, save for those 2 Archons. So, all in all, it's kind of reset. Ourk, though, does have the ability to warp in units, which ultimately gives him a lot of scope to go for that counterattack. The 3-3 is a long way off. Plus 3 infantry armor only just started for Bobson, whereas obviously plus 1 Protoss shields nearly finished, plus 3 infantry weapons still not done. So Ourk, he may gear up for a quick push, but judging how they played so far, I'm expecting him just to sit back comfortably and wait. And I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do in this situation. I don't know what your thoughts are. From a Terran perspective, wouldn't you be fearing the counterattack right now?
I mean, Ourk knows that he's got the production advantage right now. His 4th base is established much quicker than his opponent's, so he's able to keep warping in these units. So I like Ourk's position to want to just remax out. And I wish that Bobson could have gotten to a better positioning. He was forced back into a corner. He wasn't microing his units at all, wasn't stuttering. He was down on upgrades, and yet that was still a close trade. Now, we actually do have the DT in the main base going for that engineering bay. Nice EMP, saving scans so he can use mules, takes out that Dark Templar on the main base. And, Ourk's just going to hit another max push, and Bobson, I don't think there's a way he's going to be able to hold this off.
We also have DTs everywhere, by the way. There was one in the 3rd previously to that. There's also one sitting down in the 5th base position for Ourk, so definitely being irritating, forcing a lot of missile turrets, and all in all, that's just a nice bit of play. Ourk has killed 20 workers this game, so that's nothing to shy away from. It gives him the worker lead by a small amount, but of course mules negate that advantage. But all in all, Ourk remaxed out Bobson, sitting there at just under 160 supply. This could be an awkward push to try and hold again.
Yeah, I mean, if Ourk pushes anytime soon, this is probably going to be too much for Bobson. He's got a decent amount of ghosts out on the field, but the Viking count, if you look at that, if you units tab, he's got 2 Vikings on the field for the 5 Colossus. That's nowhere near the 2 more just popped out, so it's 4 Vikings. If Ourk pushes sometime soon, it's going to be rough. Now, we do see that shield is being upgraded, as well as the Warp Prism being built in the Warp Prism upgrade, so we're going to be seeing Warpins in the main base more than likely while he's pushing the middle, and this might be the killing blow to Bobson. It's going to be really difficult for him to hold this off.
Meanwhile, of course, Ourk is sending that DT into the 3rd base. The infantry is out of position a bit, so a few SCV kills will go down, which is better than nothing, of course, and it keeps Bobson on his toes. The push coming in at the same time. There goes the blink forward, and well, the Zealots charging in straight away, plus their infantry armor isn't quite finished yet. Of course, these Colossi doing so much damage. There is, as you said, 5 Colossi against 8 Vikings now. The damage is huge. The Planetary Fortress gets sniped down incredibly quickly. EMPs are going down, Storms are going down. This is looking pretty one-sided at the moment.
Unfortunately for Ourk, the Warp Prism in the main base did get taken down by a missile turret. Ourk is going to be taking the middle base, clearing off the rest of this army. There's just enough army here left over for Ourk. 2 Colossus on the field. One of them might die to these 2 lone Vikings. It's barely going to live, and Ourk's going to come up over double supply of his opponent, just showing the reinforcement, count for Ourk is pretty high. Lots of gateways, and there's a GG drop from Bobson. Ourk's going to go 1-0